confident reinvention. This is the subject we're going to be talking about from the author herself, Rosemarie Barnes. And right coming up next on Saturday morning, Marketing Smarties. Hi, everybody. Little joke there, I know. No AI. And because we want some real brains thinking here, and I would love the fact that we are live and speaking with people in the audience who actually can talk with us and ask us questions and comment on what we're discussing today. Hi, my name is Roland from MinMax Media, and this is the Saturday morning Marketing Smarties. We're here with a couple of other people today, the first of which I want to introduce is Tim Longwell. He's going to be the comment wrangler today and helping out with the event. And he's the continuity between ourselves in the green room and the people out there listening live. So Tim, say hi and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone, and good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Appreciate you being with us today. I'm Tim Longwell. I'm with Longwell Art Studios, and we help people find their creativity again, reignite it for their own health and happiness.
That's such a great line. And I know that there are different ways to achieve health and happiness, but through art, it's got to be at the root of what's going on worldwide. So I applaud you at your effort, what you're doing there. So without further ado, of course, we want to introduce our guest today. I've been really excited about this, waiting for weeks, and we've been discussing what we could talk about today, and we came up with a whole list of great topics. But the one we focused on and the one we integrated into what's happening in the real life now is confident reinvention. And the author of the book, among other several books, is Rosemarie Barnes. Rosemarie, say hi and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please.
Good morning, Roland. Hello, everyone. Well, that's me, Rosemarie Barnes. I am a keynote speaker. I speak about helping people bridge the gaps between the generations in the business world. We're suffering needlessly. There's no point in fighting with each other. We have to adapt. We have to reinvent. The other thing that I do is I train people in business to give the most powerful presentations they can by using everything at their disposal, their whole body, the way they use their voice, the way they create presentations, their slide deck. I teach people that, and I'm very good at it.
Wonderful.
The point of it is, it doesn't matter how brilliant your idea is. If you cannot share it so the audience can understand it, talk to the mirror.
Wow. So one thing that I wanted to make notable is that you're a keynote speaker. You speak all around probably the world, and you have engagement that people are fighting over clear through September right now. So you don't just talk a good story. You are the story that you're talking about, and you're one that gets in front of people, and they like what you do, and so there's a demand for Rosemarie to do this in front of the hundreds and thousands and however many people at a time. And so it's not just you writing books and pretending to be what you really are. So it's really an honor to have you here and to speak on these subjects.
It is so humbling to hear you say things like that, Roland. And I am very grateful for the people that choose to listen. because communication is that two-way street. There's no point in talking if no one's listening. So it makes me very humble to think that people actually want to hear what I have to say, and I'm grateful.
I think that you're a wonderful delivery channel of your own story, obviously, because people do listen. And obviously, too, you are so intelligent on so many subjects that it's just a pleasure to have you here on the show. So among the many things that you talk about, you have a book. You actually wrote a book called Confident Reinvention. And that's the subject we took here. And then I didn't realize it was a book. So I want to start off, maybe if it's not out of place, tell us a little bit about your book, and then let's apply it to what we're doing today.
Perfect. Now, I have just a little tiny correction to make. The book is written, it's just not quite published. It's in the works. So we have to wait just a little bit longer for the final editing and printing process to go on. The book is about accepting that the world is changing at a speed we have not yet seen. It's difficult to change. We get in our comfort zone. The problem is that in your comfort zone, you don't learn anything. You cannot go a single day in today's world without something new coming down the pipes. You have to have the attitude of lifelong learner. And I think when you look at me and talk to me, that's what you're seeing. You're not seeing massive amounts of intelligence. What you're seeing is curiosity and an absolute dedication to lifelong learning. As soon as you stop learning, you become complacent. As soon as you become complacent, you're no longer vital and alive and exciting and interesting. We are in a constant state of reinvention, though. From the time we're born till the time we are no longer on the earth, everything we do is a constant state of reinvention. We go from baby to child to, teenager to young adult to, and on and on. No one dies with the same attitudes as they were born with. We are reinventing all the time. So just consider for a minute, how many hats are you, all the listeners, how many hats do you wear every single minute? You may be a parent, you may be a grandparent, you may be a sister or a brother, an aunt or an uncle. In your personal lives, you're a wife, a husband, a spouse. Then add into the business. Are you a leader? Are you a designated leader or a natural leader? Are you changing the way your business is being run? It's all how many hats in one day. And I would say that if anyone is wearing less than 10 hats, they simply haven't determined what the other hats are. We're all changing, and we all have to attack all of those things with a different mindset. How do you react then, or instigate? There's the trick. Change is going to happen to us. Reinvention is going to be. The question is, do you react or do you instigate? And when you instigate, that's the fun place. It's fun place. Now, some people have a much easier time. Children, well, watch them play a game of anything. Watch them play and say, okay, so I'm the bad guy, okay, and you be the kitty. Okay. And so they play with that for a minute, and then they go, okay, wait. You're not just a kitty. You're a tiger. Okay, we'll go with that for a while. We're going to play that. So now children reinvent all the time. Look at their play. A ball can be just a ball, or it can be reinvented to become a grenade, or it can be reinvented to become an apple or an idea. We all change. The trick is that once we become set in our ways, we find it more and more difficult. Who has it easier? Men, women, children, elderly people? Who has the more difficult time? And the answer is they are equal. It's only the importance of the reinvention that matters. Where it's vitally important, if your company is going to go down unless you reinvent something, then that becomes a matter of angst and ulcers, and all kinds of awful things happen when you attack it that way. On the other hand, if you look at it as an opportunity, everything changes. Consider, is it easier to change from a follower into a leader? Or alternately, is it easier to go from a leader to a follower?
Good question. But I want to pause you for a moment on that one. And let's see if I can get this to happen here. I wanted to acknowledge the fact we've got some people in the audience listening to what you're saying, and I wanted to let them know that I know they're there and that I love the fact that they showed up today. And one of them is We Wake Bendo Oral, and Stroke TV. Aaron is out there. Lolan Fulsang, thank you for showing up, Lolan. Kathy Pop, really glad you were able to make it. Roz Boundy is out there. How are you today? And it looks like that's most of us. But I'm just thrilled that you guys are going to are in the audience today, because this is a subject I'm expecting you to comment on what we're talking about. And so you just said, it reminds me that since I was about 15 years old, I knew that everything changes. I don't know how I got that, but it was just so vivid in my mind. It's like, everything changes, nothing stays the same. So I better gear myself towards adaptability and flexibility. And it's really helped me out tremendously throughout my life. And where people are always running into things and saying, dang it, this happened, or dang it, that I have no control over that. I was always thinking to myself, well, what's the next phase? What's the resolution to our condition? And it kept me thinking progressively. So, I mean, inevitably, I think that's why I'm still alive today. But the thing that we were applying is that the concept is so prolific within the millennial mindset.
Right.
So would this be an appropriate time to deliberate on what the millennial mindset is and how these two things relate?
The millennials are brilliant. I am so tired of hearing the millennial bashing. Stop it. Stop it immediately. Millennials.
I agree.
Millennials are coping better with everything they've had to deal with in their lives than other generations could have, possibly. Millennials were the first generation, to have to deal with this onslaught of information. What happened was that with the advent of the computer, everyone had to reinvent their companies. I created a purchasing department for Canada's first online university. When I created that department, computers weren't part of the scenario. I remember having my staff trying out all these fancy typewriters that could read a line ahead, and you could edit it before it got printed, all that kind of thing. And that was top of the line technology. Then came computers on everyone's desk, in everyone's home, and the amount of information that has blasted us is causing some difficulties. The millennials are the first generation to have to deal with analytics of, is this true? Is that not true? As a teacher, I used to spend so much of my time preaching, just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true. Because for the millennials, this was like an Easter basket of goodies. And this is a good one, and that's a good one, and this is a good one. How many times have you ever thrown something out of your Easter basket because you didn't like it? You accept it. So millennials had to be the first generation to learn how to dissemble, how to analyze, how to create compartments. Part and parcel of what happened is that millennials have been raised to be special. Those of us raising millennials chose to have those children. We didn't have to have them. Birth control was in full accessibility, and we chose to have our special treasured ones. And treasure them we did. We loved them too well. Confidence doesn't come from always being told how right you are. Confidence doesn't come from being repeatedly told you are destined for greatness. That's not where confidence comes. Confidence comes from digging yourself out of trouble and knowing that you can. Confidence doesn't come from always being right. Confidence comes through navigating through failure. In comes the helicopter parent. At one point, if a child got in trouble in school, the child would be in trouble then and then go home, and the parents would give him what for too. Now, if a child is in trouble at school, mommy and or daddy come racing in to defend Junior. And it is the parents who now have all the control, or the illusion of control. We have built such a strong safety net for our children that we have never allowed them to fail. So they have no confidence that they can live through it. Consequently, when interesting times land on our doorsteps, they have no strategies for coping. That gets them into trouble in the work world because they expect that safety net to come with them. No, it may not be parents, siblings, our social network. Now we're on the job. And work expectations have changed with the generation too. Without reinventing the way we deal with our staff, we're going to be in trouble because, and here it is, the number one best customer any organization has is their staff. Treat your staff well and give them what they need, fulfill their expectation, and your best talent doesn't run out the door. However, the old school method of people management, the old hierarchy in the world of business of pyramids with the top being very tiny but absolute power down to the bottom where the masses are, that is no longer okay with our millennials, and even more so with our younger generation, the Generation Zs, who are just now beginning to graduate from high school. They walk. You don't treat them as part of the team, they will leave. They know more, technologically speaking wise, and they know that they know more. They have always, from the time they popped out the hatch, been involved in family decisions. They've been involved in, I actually had a nephew that chose the color of the family car. And another child in that family got to choose the interior color. Now, when Roland, you and I were young, can you imagine? And even if we had been asked to choose the color of the car, we would have gone, what? Why are you asking me that? I have no say. But our young people have always had a say. Big decisions have always been, they've been included. Now they go into the work world and they expect the same thing. And why should they not?
Agreed.
Why should they not?
It's so funny because as of at least a decade ago, I was doing my own version of soapbox preaching.
Sorry, I'll get off my box.
No, that's not. I was just putting myself up there because that's how it felt at the time.
Yes,
but I wasn't declaring anything regarding you at all, because I already consider you the authority. So I want to give you the proverbial soapbox. But when I was on mine, I was talking to the people about the vision is the pyramid that What's the guy? Maslow's hierarchy.
Maslow's hierarchy. Yes.
And I drew this pyramid on a sheet, and I said, now I'm going to change this meeting a bit. Everyone take your pyramid. And I gave them all a copy of the pyramid. And I said, now turn it upside down. And said, we're going to start at the top of the pyramid. But the top of the pyramid is, we want to give back to the people. We don't want to start the way, when the pyramid is normal, here's what it's supposed to be. When you get to the top of the pyramid, you get benevolent, you give back, you give. And so, but if you flip it upside down, now you're starting with the giving, right? And so that actually puts everything in the proper polarity for success. And the other people are all fighting their way to the top of the pyramid. So everything between the baseline of survival and achieving the goodness and happiness, benevolent mindset was a struggle. So it just did not make any sense to me.
I think we've gone from the pyramid into King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Equal voice.
Please elaborate on that.
In King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, everyone was an equal member of the team. Everyone had a voice. There was King Arthur to make the ultimate decision, but he did so on the advice of his team. And that's what the work world is beginning to resemble more and more. No longer is the corner office with the door the coveted benefit to climbing your way up that ladder. Our younger generations don't want an office with a door. They want everything to be a group decision because that's what they know. They are global citizens, and especially our younger ones. They care as much about a tsunami in Singapore as they do off the coast of Canada.
Yes.
They have friends all over the globe. Our youngest generation will even work for less money for a green company. They are global stewards. Now, how do you then, because everything is moving at light speed, how do you then, on what basis do you make decisions? On what basis do you choose to reinvent or not reinvent? It is my absolute belief that it is our personal values that dictate our decisions. If only we took the time to figure out what our personal values are. That takes some alone time. Because the millennials have never had alone time, they feel abandoned when they're alone. On the other hand, micromanaging won't work either because they are a part of the team. So to get our millennials working, you can neither abandon nor micromanage. They want to be equal members of the team. They will not accept starting in the mailroom, if those even existed anymore, and climbing their way to the top. They've come into work knowing full well that they are better equipped to handle all the changes that technology has created. They are better equipped than those of us who weren't raised in it. Not that we haven't caught up, not that we haven't learned, but this is in their DNA, for crying out loud. They eat, live, and breathe it. I swear that the Generation Zs are born with two cords, an umbilical cord and one for all their devices to plug them in and keep them rolling.
You would think, I mean, there's a phrase that I've lived by for a long time. The child is father to the man. There's so much that we learn from our kids. And, they're the ones living in the progressive new age. And they're the ones that teach us how to use our cell phones and our technology and the apps online and Android, iPhone, this and that. They're the ones teaching us. And my wife's got a new phone that the kids are trying to show her how to use.
Absolutely.
Because it's so progressive. It does so many things that we are not used to, that we need to take lessons on new technology just to be able to survive and coexist in the current age.
Exactly. And who's better equipped to teach us those things than those who live, eat, and breathe it 24 hours a day? They expect that kind of respect. Are you going to sneeze? Are you okay? They expect that kind of respect when they enter the workforce. They've been respected at home. It boggles my mind that we expect them to behave differently once they leave school. How can they have lived 20 years under a certain set of parameters and then all of a sudden enter the work world and be expected to do otherwise? I think it's unreasonable. But flip that. What about the people who are in the work world and have been for the last 300 years? They have expectations too. So now we've got the millennials are in positions of power. How do they manage leading people older than themselves?
We're going to take a short break here, and I just for the breath of air, because I'm in the middle of this, and sometimes I just gotta take a sigh just to keep myself from passing out. But I also want to give people, you're giving them so much information. Somewhere out there, someone's thinking, how do I get in touch with this lady? I want to make sure that they can. So let's take a moment and do that. So that's Rosemarie's website there. Feel free to go to confidencestages.com and look her up there. She's got a form you can fill out and contact information. So go do that if you would like to talk to her further. But the subject is great here. I'm thinking about all the things that I've been pondering over for the last few months. And the whole concept of the gig economy and the fact that the millennials are probably so tuned in to what the gig economy is. That's more what they knew, as opposed to getting a job, security, and all the benefits that the standard or traditional jobs have. And what I'm a proponent of is the gig economy, because I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 decades. That's the way I've lived my life. So to me, that's nothing new. It's just the style of the workforce. But that style, which is also prevalent in the plumbing business, the carpenter business, and the services of that nature, that type of business, those people have run their entire business off of contracting temporary jobs with people. And nowadays, the jobs that we would consider traditional are now being looked at as temporary posts that have a contract and an end point that can be renewed or changed or developed, and the contract can be extended. But one of the alternative things that we deal with is, how do we work out benefits and how do we take care of ourselves when it used to be taken care of by the company? So one of the things that we need to be addressing is how to apply for and achieve these side benefits that we used to depend upon the company to hand us. We got to take care of it ourselves. So that's something that we're facing now.
It's absolutely true. Companies have had to change because the workforce has changed. The question then becomes, if the workforce has changed, has not the market also changed with it? Where we used to market to very familiar values, now the world of values has turned on its head. Where, for example, Generation X, and just to keep you apprised of what that is, Generation X are the people born between 1965 and 1980. Now, there is no line in the sand. All right. Just because you were born in 1966 doesn't make you extremely different than born in 65. But that's about when it all began to happen. Generation X were known as the cowboys. The cowboys, they needed, they were skeptical, very skeptical. The glory of the baby boomers had worn off. The glory days of the post-war had worn off. All of a sudden in Generation X, we saw the make love, not war generation. We saw the bra burning, the draft card burning. We saw rebels. We saw the cowboys. They were skeptical of the man. Trust was a very difficult thing. They didn't trust. So with each and every meeting you have to have with people of that age group, you have to understand that you have to earn their loyalty with each and every meeting. There is no blind loyalty there. They distrusted government. It was an age of distrust. Then we got Generation Y, the Millennials. Their moniker is the collaborators. Millennials like to work together. They understand the brain power of a group being astronomically larger than a group of distant individuals. Group is very important to the Millennials. They work through networks. They work through communities. They don't want an office in the corner because that's severing them from their communities and their networks. Now we get Generation Z, the ones, the people that were born 2000 and later. They're the diversifiers. Generation Z is a generation of master analyzers. They were born into this flood of information, so they have learned to disseminate well. They have learned what they will accept, what they won't accept, and they have no issue standing up for that right to do so. Try and force them into doing something they don't want to do, and you're going to get, that's not for the greater good, that's just for profit, and we're going to walk. It's very, very different. Where we used to hold on to our employees by offering them perks, the company car. We used to offer them the corner office. We used to offer them bonuses. Today, that's not what they're looking for. You can offer a corner office to a millennial or an edger, Generation Z, and you won't get what you want because they're not interested. Their values have changed. Values are, to define it, what we believe and to what lengths we will go to defend it. As soon as we know those values, all our decisions are easy. I'll give you an example. My parents absolutely believe in in life. Every life, whether it's trees or the worms or people or anything that has life, has extraordinary value. They taught that to me. And in my turn, I taught that to my children. Now, my daughter now has 2 kids. Thing 1 and thing 2, they're wonderful children. I love them to bits. They found a baby crow on the ground. The nest had fallen out of the tree. There was this crow. It still had eggshells stuck to it. Oh. Have you ever seen a brand new baby crow? They're the ugliest things. They look like a mistake. The girls found said sad creature, brought it home to Mommy and said, "Mommy, help it. It's alive." Ariel's, my daughter's, values made that decision for her. She could no more have turned away that baby crow than she could have turned away a human being in trouble. All life has value. That's her value. She now has a 2-year-old crow named Russell Crowe, flying around her house. Yeah, I know, it's great. Absolutely wonderful. So this crow has free reign of the house. And it's as much a member of the household as the dog that she saved, the 2 cats that were rescue cats. She also has a white bull snake that someone had abandoned. And now she's the proud owner of an African gray parrot named Boston. All of which because she could not turn them away because they needed help.
Okay, that does it. Next time you're on the show, you have to bring your daughter. And that's fabulous. I just wanted to say that that's probably the best story of the day.
Absolutely.
And
Russell Crowe. And actor Russell Crowe would be very proud to know,
I bet he would.
because I think Russell Crowe's got that same value. Once you know your value system, it becomes your GPS.
Yes.
Your value system guides you. It just like your GPS, your value system reviews where we are now. Then it recalculates if we're in the wrong place, and it very quietly and calmly finds us another route to get to our destination. It reinvents our journey. Your GPS in your car doesn't stand up and go, "You're a blinking idiot. You made a wrong turn." It doesn't do that. Just like your values calmly and quietly say, reevaluation is necessary to get me where I want to go. What you can do then is you review, you recalculate, and you redirect when you're on the wrong path. These are the paths to handling change, to deciding whether you're going to reinvent or not. The 3R system then, which is review, recalculate, and redirect, then give you the choice to take the changes and decide whether to take them, leave them, or change them again. I call that the TLC principle because it's cute and catchy. So you can take it, leave it, or change it. You always have the choice when you're considering reinvention in whatever form that is. Am I going to start a company? Am I going to change my hair? Am I going to change the way politics is seen all over the globe? Every time there's a decision made, your values guide you to the validity of it. And then the TLC principle allows you to then evaluate. Are you going to take the changes that you've come up with? Are you going to accept them, insert them into your world, and nurture them? Going to instead leave them? Absolve yourself. I don't want that. I'm not going to accept that change. I'm going to continue with the status quo. Or you can change the change. We always have choices. You can take them, leave them, or change it. Even when we finally get to that new place that our GPS has sent us, we still have that choice. We can take it, leave it, or change it. Everything is temporary. Everything.
So let's apply this to something that we wake us saying out there. And by the way, Tim, I'm sorry I crippled you in your work. The way I have the plugin set up, I just changed it. So if you refresh your browser, you will have the power now. But this is what I wanted to display here. WeWake has been making comments, and one of them was the gig economy is the future, but most of the present parents expect their children to have old-fashioned jobs. How do you square this circle, Roland Takaoka? And I would say you can't square the circle, but you sure can round the corners if you can teach the parents something in the midst of that. So, Rosemarie, what do you think?
Boggles my brain a little bit that as parents, we are working so hard to create and develop and nurture independent people. If we cannot push the baby bird out of the nest, we are not doing our job.
There you
Our
go.
job is not to keep them home and safe and wrapped in cotton wool. The market has changed. If we do not allow our children to change with the market, we are setting them up for failure. Yes, what we have is round pegs and square holes, or square pegs, round holes, whichever way you want to look at that. The way that you and I, Roland, entered the job market was we knew the expectation of the job market. We knew what we had to do. It was all laid out and planned. And then every so often a rebel or two might show up and rock the world a little bit. But the rocking the world is happening all the time. And as parents, as business owners, as bosses, as leaders, it is our job to prepare our young people to continue to work in the new world, not the one we came from. That one had its time. Now, I'm not criticizing the hierarchy that was. It worked very, very well for a very long time. Our triangle of power, our Maslow's hierarchy, it worked brilliantly. But the times they is a changing, and to expect our children to continue to work in the way we did is not only foolish, but it's potentially hazardous to the global economy. We cannot continue to stick our heads in the sand and think things are going to revert to the way they were before. They're not. They're
Agreed.
not. They may in another 300 years. It may go back to the hierarchy. But for now, we have to understand that if we want the best from our employees, if we want the best from our mentees, if we want the best in our schools, we can't continue to force them into old ways that no longer are applicable.
Agreed.
Here's what happens. If we can't adapt, businesses fold. If we can't adapt, careers collapse. If we can't adapt, we find avoidance and coping mechanisms. That leads to things called addiction. That leads to death. We cannot continue to try and force people to work in a way that didn't work. Continual success doesn't breed confidence. It breeds complacence. And our young people are anything but complacent within their realms of expertise.
This is all brilliant. The way I'm relating to this is that I have always felt like I was a square peg. I've always felt that like I didn't fit. And as a result, I have emulated in my statement often that I probably have fired as many bosses as have fired me. But
exactly.
Aaron brings up a very good question, and I think that he's right on the money when he says, is it safe to say our ability to remain fluid is a primary force towards our true success?
I would say yes, as long as you have delved into what your value system is and you're using your value system to guide you in our new path. If we are, everything is fluid, yes. But as soon as we get off our values path, things begin to happen and things go awry. If you rely, now there's a reason for this. Studies have been done, blah, 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 that gut reaction is very often truth. Now, you know that I train speakers to speak their brilliance and share. As soon as you get off the beaten track, the speaker has nowhere to come home. That's why speakers use PowerPoint to keep them on track. That's because they begin to breathe. It's all very physiological that you get. If you let the anxiety get a hold of you, you become dumb. You get stupid as a post. You forget everything, and it's a matter of oxygen and where it's being directed. It's all very legitimate and easily handled. However, if we don't have somewhere to go home after we've run off our tangents, we get wandering around and doing silly things. Millennials haven't had the chance to know what their values are because of the helicopter parenting and helicopter teaching and all of those wonderful things that we're doing to protect our treasured ones, giving them no opportunity to find out who they are. That doesn't mean that they have to go backpacking across Europe for 2 years or go live with the pygmies in Australia for a while. It just means that they need some alone time. And alone time is not something they seek. They seek the comfort of the group.
So I really like this. And where is his question about the fluidity? The fluid concept to me speaks for adaptability and open-mindedness and ability to choose and make changes and go with the flow, so to speak. But you are right. If people don't have a good focus in the first place, if they're not in touch with their values, then they're probably doing what's not counting the most anyway. So their fluidity and their flexibility and their adaptability is not going to make the impact that it could if they're not striving to do what is really in their heart.
Completely true. If you are not true to yourself, you feel it. Have you ever had that niggle in your stomach that says,
is that what that thing was?
That's your values saying, I don't know if that sits with us very well. It is important to listen to your values. They will come out through your head and through your mouth, but they also come out through your body. We live in a world of continual stress. It's caused by all these, all the moving parts and all the things that because we're changing so fast and we're getting out of our comfort zone and we have to learn and and it's a matter of stress. It's caused primarily by technology and the rate that it's changing. I heard a comic once say, all you wonderful, very appreciated computer geeks out there, can you please go on holidays for 6 months and let the rest of the world catch up with you? It all brings about a tremendous amount of stress that can be alleviated and forced to fly in a row by understanding your values.
Yes.
Values will guide you.
Wanted to present one comment out here because we had a couple of new people that came on near the end there, and we've only got about 10 minutes to wrap things up, but maybe this will be a nice guide towards the end. But first of all, Jay Neal has joined us, and thank you very much for showing up, Jay. I appreciate you showing up. And also, Susan Joy Schlief is out there, and she's been she was making a comment that I think I should display. So here we go. I love the way Rosemarie is describing this, and I think it is a very healthy way to approach the way our economy is going to be, especially as more and more jobs disappear with AI and automation.
Absolutely true. We are all going to feel the effects of AI and automation. We absolutely will.
And hence my joke in the beginning of the intro of what I did, no AI, that it just people.
No AI.
Yeah.
And it's true, and we are so fearful of it. The world is going, we're all going to lose our jobs. We're all going to do this. We're all going to do that. Consider for a moment where we are today. Now consider where we were 300 years ago. Do you really want to go back?
I don't think so. I definitely don't.
Go
ahead.
Part of the trepidation that a lot of society, and I use this word cautiously, us oldsters, oddly enough, not myself, because I've been a geek since before computers were on the desktop. But the trepidation is the books that we consumed a lot of it was science fiction, and it was robot and not just alien threat, but it was technology threat. Computers taking over the world, machines taking over the world, and
Terminator,
driving into slave.
Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons, a lot of this.
It goes even further back to that. Andre Norton covered a lot of it. Isaac Asimov was fabulous at exploring these avenues and basically what they were doing is they were describing the potential for wrong use.
On the other hand, consider Star Trek. Those transport that to talk to each other, and they flipped them open, and all of a sudden they could talk to Enterprise. Beam me up, Scotty. That was the predecessor of our cell phones.
Well, the smartphones we have today are the data pads that they used in Next Generation.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. My daughter, the crow lady, is every bit a millennial. Absolutely down to the wire millennial. But she believes that the world would be a better place if everybody just lived with their little family units out on an acreage and away from the hub and bub of the chaos. She said people become involved and embroiled in drama. Here's the thing, is that most of us live very normal, regular lives. We pay our taxes, we eat dinner, we watch television, we go fishing. Everybody lives lives that are really quite devoid of drama. We begin to feel, oh, it's boring. Nothing's ever new. And so we seek it out. Why do you think celebrities get so much attention? It's because we're looking for a little spice to our lives. Well, the millennials have had spice since the minute they popped out the hatch. What they're looking for is a little bit of calm in the storm. Now we come with our edgers, our Generation Zs, and they are creating the spice. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to realize that the pendulum swings. Just as in one generation, parenting is extremely strict, then in the next generation, it's extremely lax. And back and forth it goes. So we went from our millennials just wanting to be like Jill. Just chill out, dude. And quietly and calmly in their groups, quite insulated. Now we get Generation Z coming in who's saying, bring it on. Bring us a, because we're inventing it. Bring it. We will always, always need human creativity. Machines are brilliant, and they will save us from working in factories that people hated. Thank goodness they were able to go and do better things with their lives. The coming of automation and AI will threaten some jobs. It absolutely will. And when people are down to the wire, that's when they get creative.
Yay.
I see nothing more exciting than the possibility of global change. We're in a mess. Why do we want it to stay the same? That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me.
So a little bit different tack on the direction that we've all been on. Maybe it's just kind of summarizing where we've been heading all along with this conversation. But I read somewhere, and I wish I could give credit to the author, but I know I read the article. I consume so much data, but the author was basically saying leadership and their job, the job of leadership, is to produce better and more leaders. So I'm wondering if the ratio of leader versus follower, so to speak, or the people congregating to follow that leadership and to do something with it and to achieve the overall goal, I wonder if the ratio is changing so radically. I think it speaks of the collaboration and the collaborative mind of the millennials that really, you know, if I'm a baby boomer, or if I'm a Gen X or whatever I am, I should be paying attention to this collaborative mindset.
Here's the beauty of it, is that in today's world, leadership is not for all things all the time. What our new people have created, and it's bloody brilliant. This is my area of strength. For this piece of work, I will lead. And the others all go, yep, you're the best person for that. Next project, that's your skill set. I will follow you now. Next project, back to me to lead. Cool, I'm good with that. They are not so frightened of giving up power and authority that they have to lead for everything. They're quite happy to share leadership.
I love it. I love it. This is a reflective of what the Japanese have been doing for generations now with the concept of Kaizen. And in Kaizen, it's very similar to the improvement, constant and never-ending theories and so forth. And the idea is feedback comes from the field. They're asked to pursue it. They give them the helm, so to speak, at certain times, and they let these people contribute, comment, and become the heroes when they come up with a good idea, so that it causes everybody to think, gee, I have a voice and I can speak up and I could contribute to the actual steering of this entire vehicle that is my workplace, not just the limited position of my job, but I could affect, if I come up with a good idea, I could affect the overall scenario, not just a little piece of it.
And that's changed too. I'm sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
No, I want you to interrupt because I was running out of gas.
Oh, okay. So here's the thing about that is that it depends on the generations about who can accept that. Generation X had a very definite break between work life and home life. Work life was a means to make home life happier. It was a means to pay for the weekend fun. Our new people, in the workforce, are not doing that. They want their lives and their work to be intertwined. They're not interested in putting in hours with that little piece of information that you've given them to do their job brilliantly. They're not satisfied with that anymore. They want to be involved in the whole story, not just have funneled information. And they won't accept anything less. They want to be included. Everyone knows that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, right? Everybody's got a piece, but together we are great. If the world could only understand that together we can create greatness in everyone.
And I'm so glad we were able to deliver that as part of our message today. I want to turn it back over to Tim and see what the audience contributions are. Susan Joy Schlief again, huh?
Yep. She says she agrees with your daughter, Rosemarie. She says, but she's afraid that there would not be enough land for everyone to move out of the big cities and have their own private farm refuge.
Couldn't be more true.
I have the answer to that.
Oh.
Not everybody wants to live on a farm. If people want to, they should have that opportunity and to do so. Some people would rather live in a community where they step out their front door and see everybody that they know. So it's going to be a choice that people make. And something tells me that the universe is going to accommodate us. And if we need to adopt another planet to our system that we float to, and having a choice for vacationing or relocation, that's going to happen too.
I agree.
Saw it on Star Trek.
That's a Star Trekian thing too. Now that also brings up the question of introversion versus extroversion. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? And it has nothing to do with whether you like people or not. It's where you get your power, your enthusiasm from. An introvert gets that from within. They get their personal power to go out and conquer the world. An extrovert takes the world's energy and distills it into themselves. One takes the energy from themselves, one takes the energy from others. It has nothing to do with how you react to people. However, in my daughter's case, my daughter is an introvert. So to her, the idea of a very tight, compact, trusted unit without the onslaught of all this information and input that's constantly at her door, it can be very overwhelming for an introvert. So I would not want to live on a farm. I did that, and it's great, but that's not my the thing is, though, that within our own strengths, within our own weaknesses, we come together. And the millennials and the Zeds have discovered the power of group. And we're never going to go back. Think of our history. People bound together in groups back in the caveman days for protection, to make sure that they were safer. Well, we don't have to do that anymore. Or do we? Or do we? Are we not still safer in groups? The difference is that now we do it electronically instead of in the cave.
We are definitely in the global mobile age, and that's not going to go away. I mean, I say that, and then there might be this huge Holocaust, cataclysmic destruction of the world as we know it. Yeah, that could, but we'll just rebuild it. Now that we understand the technology, we'll just rebuild it. So it's not going to go away forever. There might be one of these waves, but we are out of time. We've hit the top of our hour. And, I have wanted to give you a brief minute to be able to wrap up what we've discussed today, if you'd like to do that, Rosemarie.
Thank you, Roland. First of all, can everyone please stop bashing our millennials? They are different. Of course they're different. We raised them to be different. We want them to be different. The world reached a plateau. It was time to reinvent, and they are doing it for us. Here's the thing. Remember, please, that everything is temporary. Where we used to live in a job for all of our lives because we valued security, loyalty, the pension check. Today's people don't value the same things. Now they value diversity and adaptability and flexibility and taking the skills and applying it to larger things. Please let them do it. They are brilliant. Accept them, that we have created them this way. Now let them teach us.
Totally agree. I think that we have set the stage and handed them this inheritance of what they're living in now. And they're doing a hell of a job with it, to the point where we have so much to learn as a result. So let's keep the circle going and the fluid going, and everybody learn in the process, and we're all going to get along just fine.
You bet.
Well, thank you very much, Rosemarie Barnes, for your intelligence and your wisdom that you bring us. I love the way you can just start talking and then there's continuity from start to finish. I wish I could do the same. And Tim, thank you very much for attending. I know I kind of crippled you in the scheme of things here, but I'll try to remember next time to do better. And we had 8 or 9 viewers that stayed with us the entire show, so I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for participating today on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. Roland from MinMax Media, and we're going to sign off now.